Hey guys, what's up? My name's Austen Alexander. Welcome to the first episode of the podcast, Let's Learn Everything. I'm Austen Alexander. This is the first episode. And essentially, this podcast, I want to do something where, it's a little different. I like to learn things. And when I watch or consume any content, whether it's reading, watching TV, movies, stuff like that, or listening to podcasts, I like to learn things. I'm a comedian and an actor, filmmaker at heart. So constantly the content I'm putting out is really funny. But you know what? I like to learn things, and I find that this podcast is for me. And personally, it's to help me speak better to the camera. And I'm going to learn that. And we're going to be learning new things. This specific podcast could be about anything. I have many interests. I can get guests on. I have no idea about... Every episode's going to be completely different. That's all I'm going to say. So if I want to learn about, somebody's trip, I'm going to get them on and we're going to have a guest come on and we can talk about that. If I want to talk about a specific World War I battle or, something I learned in my day, I'm going to talk about it. And so that's why this podcast is called Let's Learn Some... what did I call it? Okay, whatever it was, that's what it's called. Today, I want to talk to you guys about my experience with a 3-day fast that I just did. It was a 72-hour fast, and I've never experienced anything like this in my life. I know it sounds weird. Oh, you just went 3 days without food. You're not some monk who's, found enlightenment. But I did figure something out about my body. I found out that doing a fast, having absolutely nothing in your body, had made me realize that my body has always been on the go. And it made me understand that I have to appreciate, things that I'm putting into my body. I know it sounds stupid. I sound so dumb. See, this is exactly why I'm doing this podcast, because I have no idea how to speak to a camera. So this is going to help me talk about it. And me just getting out my thoughts is much better for me because I have a hard time articulating my sentences clearly in a concise manner. And I find that this is going to help me do that. So let me talk about the 72-hour fast that I did. So I spent 3 days. I ate no solid food. I made a broth, which consists of garlic, turmeric, ginger, and salt. So I did some research, and I know salt is one of the most important things you have to get into your body on top of the water. So if you were to do a 3-day fast with just water, you may faint and feel really lethargic or sick. So you definitely need to get these salts into your body. So this broth that I made kind of was my meal supplement that I was doing, for my meals. So anyways, in between that, I'd be drinking water, lemon water. I had a little bit of coffee. I know there's from reading up on this, there's some skepticism about, is coffee going to take you out of something called autophagy? And autophagy, we'll get into that in a little bit. Is it going to take me out of autophagy? So I only did half of a small, a tall blonde Americano. So that's a blonde Americano. I only did half of that, so it was not too much coffee. But yeah, so I started doing this on a Thursday. It was 7 p.m. I had my last meal. I had 42 pieces of sushi and a tuna steak. It was seared on both sides. It was great. I noticed after the first 24 hours... Yeah, see, I gotta break this shit down. I'm just rambling, but I gotta break this shit down, and this is helping. So the first 24 hours was easy. I have been intermittently fasting for 2 years now, and I found that doing the first 24 hours was absolutely a piece of cake. I've gone days without eating easily, and it wasn't until the second day that I really started to feel it. The second day was the worst. That's when everything came out of my body. I flushed everything out. It felt really good. For me, I felt like I had room for my organs. And I could breathe better, if that makes sense. My sinuses cleared up in the second day, and the sleep that I was getting, I felt like I was getting way more oxygen to my brain and my body, and it felt I could actually like feel it going into my vein. It was really weird experience. It was cool. I haven't been able to breathe as well as that for a very long since I can ever remember. So anyways, the third day was a little easier actually than the second day. I was definitely hungry, and in the morning it was worse than the afternoon or the evening. So I ate on Thursday, and then I didn't eat until Sunday night, Thursday. And so I went through all that time kind of just cleaning out my body, and you feel completely empty. Your body excrete like this is going to sound gross, but your final bowel movements are like the sludge that are stuck to the insides of the walls of your intestines, you know what I mean? So that shit just all came out, and it was like after that, I can't explain to you how much of an emptiness it feels. And then at the same time, you're intaking all this liquid that's cleaning you out. So you're constantly, taking these clean pees. And I noticed that I had there were blemishes in my skin that got cleared up. Breathing was the number one thing for me. I could really breathe. I've always had troubles with like inflammation in my sinuses and in my face, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it has anything to do with the digestion. So all in all, that was my experience. I'm going to tell you why I did this. So it's something called autophagy, and I have the definition up here. And autophagy is the body's way of cleaning out damaged cells in order to regenerate newer, healthier cells. So essentially, your cells, from what I've researched, your cells are essentially eating themselves. It's kind of, it sounds counterintuitive or counterproductive. I don't know. See, that's why we're going to learn this stuff. What should I be saying? It sounds counterintuitive, but what's happening, picture this, you're a human, right? So we never ate all the time. We never had the ability to eat 3-course meals every day when you're living in the forest and hunting and foraging for your food. So our bodies are not designed to eat every day. So we have evolved with the ability to go days on end without eating. And it's actually beneficial to do this. Now there's a healthy balance. You can't starve yourself to the point of, never eating and never getting enough nutrients, because that's going to be, cancerous causing and kill you. Whereas you can't always be fucking eating to the point where you're constantly stuffed and having your body have to digest all the time, because what's happening is it's inflaming your cells, it's inflaming you within on a cellular level, and those cells get damaged. So what this fast does is it essentially starves off damaged cells, and then new ones get to grow. And that process is your body being in a state of autophagy. And from what I've researched is that the optimal time for autophagy to take place was within 48 to 72 hours. I've done 48 hours before. I felt great. But the 72-hour one, I've never done anything like that. It was great. I had a friend of mine actually message me when I announced this on Instagram that I was going to be doing this fast. He said he did 14 days. I'm mind blown by that people can go, 10 to 14 days, absolutely no food. But people do it. And after this experience, I can tell you the mental clarity is just one thing, but in the skin and your hair, nails, whatever, the physical aspect feels great. But my appreciation for food, I feel was enlightening. That was what was enlightening for me, because I work out a lot, and I'm all about heavy intake, constantly, getting nutrients in the body to go out and output energy. So like I'm constantly intaking and never really taking the time to appreciate, good, wholesome food. So this allowed me to slow down. And since I did the fast, I ended it 2 days ago. Every single meal that I've had since, I've taken the time to prepare and acknowledge what was going into my body. It sounds, kind of corny and cheesy, but like I can't explain it. Like I know that I could feel the way my body was feeling and I knew what it wanted. So, for example, I haven't been craving a burger, but the first meal and the first thing that I would put into my body is either like a light meal or, a rich meal. So, the last meals that I've been having, I made a bunch of oxtail. Well, this is kind of funny. So when I was fasting, all I was doing was cooking food. So I had all this great food in front of me, but I wasn't eating it. And that was an interesting experience because I felt so in tuned. I was like, that looks so delicious. And all I wanted to do was eat it, but I couldn't. It's like a dog, when you make a dog wait in front of a bowl of food and you tell him, you give him the go ahead when to go. That's what it felt like for me. And on that level, I mean, like I cook. And so if you like go to my Instagram, you'll see I make cooking videos. So like I'm making some bomb fucking shit. Like I went to like Whole Foods. I went to Farm Boy. I was picking up the freshest ingredients. I wanted oxtail. I wanted meat on a bone with the marrow and just so it fell off the bone. There's all that nutrients and it's really, fatty, protein rich. It was just, that was what I was craving and that's what I wanted to break my fast. And I said, okay, well, I have 3 days to prep and make this food to be the best possible food that I'm going to intake. So I was looking forward for 3 days to this one meal. I've never looked forward to eating so badly, like a meal in my life. Like Christmas time comes around and you're like, oh, I'm down. Oh, I can't wait for a Christmas meal. But this was to another extreme where I'm cooking the food and seeing everything from, buying the food and making the food and then watching it cook. The whole third day, it took me 10 hours to braise these oxtails, and the whole day I could have sworn I was watching it bubble the entire day. I was in the fucking screen like this at the slow cooker, just watching it cook the entire day and smelling it. And those first bites, oh man, it was incredible. Incredible meal. Incredible meal. And I did the oxtail, the coleslaw. I made saffron rice. I had a little bit of the saffron rice because I wasn't trying to, carb load right as my first meal. Ended up eating about 1.5 pounds of the oxtail. Big hefty portion of the coleslaw. Couldn't stop eating. And it was really funny because after all this, there was a point when I was like, okay, well, what am I going to have for dessert? And I was thinking about that for a couple days. I was like, what am I going to have for dessert? And, I'm having this kind of, I don't want to call it a spiritual experience, but it's definitely something where you become more in tune with your body. And I guess that's spiritual. I mean, I'm not into that hoot nanny. But, so I'm really wanting, I'm like, what am I going to have for dessert? And I even went up like Whole Foods. I'm like looking at certain things I could have made, like cookies, chocolate cake, shit like that. Like, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to have for dessert? And I wanted something crisp, clean, like something I really loved. And I shit you not, about 2 hours before I was about to eat, so it was about 5 o'clock, I was about to eat at 7, I got a ring at the doorbell. So there's a doorbell, so someone rings at my doorbell, and I don't answer it because I always think it's telemarketers at my door. That's what I think, yeah. That's how smart I am. That's why I'm doing this podcast, to help me speak to you. So 2 hours before my meal, I get a ring on my doorbell. I don't answer it. and I'm staring at them through the window. I'm kind of peeking because I don't want, I'm like, who the fuck is at my door? And I do that shit. I don't answer it. Then they ring again. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Why would somebody ring twice? So I go down, and it's actually my new neighbors who just moved in a couple houses down. And they're like, oh, hey, we're the new neighbors. We wanted to bring you over some cake. And they brought me, there's this shop called Nothing Bunt Cakes. And they're like these bunt cakes that they make with sour cream. So they're really soft. And they have this cream cheese. And it was so funny because I was like, oh my God, you brought me Nothing Bunt Cakes. Didn't even know these people. The universe sent me the 3 different flavors: chocolate, carrot, vanilla. They sent me all these flavors. And I was like, yo, the universe answered me. Like, it wanted me to have the best dessert in the world. And they're like this big. And anyways, there's only one location in Burlington near my house. And anyways, I'm like, oh my God, Nothing Bunt Cakes. And they're like, oh, you've heard of it? Like, because not everybody's heard of Nothing Bunt Cakes. And they're like, oh my God, you've heard of it? I'm like, yo, Nothing Bunt Cakes is like, I go there often. They have free samples. I'm always there. That's like my favorite place to buy, birthday parties, all that shit. Like buying a cake for someone, that's where I will go. They have like many different sizes of cake. Beyond that, finished the meal. I ate two of the cakes because I knew I should have saved one for my parents, which I did. Saved the carrot cake. And then, yeah, all in all, it's a good meal. I ate way too much. And then right after that, I passed out on the couch, and I woke up the next day at 11 a.m., 11:30. And yeah, had one of the deepest sleeps that I've had in a long time. It was nutrient-dense sleep, let's put it that way. Yeah, so that's my story. That was my, experience with a 72-hour fast. Yeah, okay, well, that's 17 minutes. Cool. I think that's pretty cool. Thank you for joining me on my first, podcast. This is Let's Learn Something. I hope that's what I called it at the beginning of the episode. If not, it's a working title, so if it's not called that, it's not called that, but let's learn something. You know what I mean? I haven't even looked into it, so I don't know if like somebody else took it. So this is Let's Learn Something with Austen Alexander.